Wait, hold on. Let's take it back a step. Alright, that's good. Now let me tell you about a man who's quietly becoming unstoppable. Every year, he gets more dangerous. Every game, more dominant. He has 5 elite traits that nobody's connecting together. But when you do, the truth is scary. His name? Jalen Hurts. Hurts was born on August 7th, 1998 in Channelview, Texas. Now, Jalen didn't have an ordinary childhood, nor did he have ordinary parents. His dad, Avery Hurts Sr., wasn't just cheering from the stands on Friday nights, he was Friday nights.
Little slip to the 5, touchdown.
As the head coach at Channelview High School, Avery Sr. turned his home into a football laboratory where the line between father and coach straight up didn't exist. He was teaching elite level discipline into Jalen from day one.
To see him work so hard and experience some success, it's well deserving for him.
Meanwhile, his mother Pamela was running her own program. As a special education teacher with nearly 25 years of experience, she understood something most football parents miss. The process matters more than the results. While Avery was building Jalen's competitive fire, Pamela was teaching him how to love the grind itself, how to fall in love with the work that nobody sees. When Jalen entered high school, most quarterbacks his age were worried about throwing spirals and reading basic defenses. Jalen Hurts was in the weight room. You see, growing up under a coach who demanded perfection in everything, Jalen quickly realized he had a problem. He wasn't the tallest quarterback. He didn't have the biggest arm. But watching his dad analyze every aspect of his game, Jalen learned a crucial lesson. Focus on what you can control. Height, can't change it. Natural arm strength, you get what you get. But physical power, that was completely up to him. So at 15 years old, while other quarterbacks were at skill camps, Jalen was squatting 500 pounds. By age 16, competing in the 198-pound weight class, his lifts were putting grown men to shame. A 570-pound squat, a 275-pound bench press, and a 585-pound deadlift. The process of building himself, starting with pure strength, had taught him something important. Any weakness can be engineered into a strength. As a second-team All-District sophomore, Jalen was already showing flashes of something special. He finished high school as a 4-star recruit, throwing for over 2,700 yards and 35 touchdowns, while adding 1,391 rushing yards and 25 rushing touchdowns as a senior. Except, even after years of dominance, Hurts still felt like he had something to prove. He was the coach's kid, believed to be the starting quarterback because of the people around him, not his talent. When it was time to select a school, Jalen knew he had to go somewhere that would challenge him the most, somewhere where intense pressure was expected. Luckily, his dynamic play had caught the eyes of multiple coaches. One of these coaches happened to have an insane legacy who also needed a new quarterback, Nick Saban. When Jalen arrived at the University of Alabama in 2016, he was walking into the most ruthless program in college football as a 4-star recruit. This wasn't just about playing football, but about surviving.
Come on, let's go, 2! And stay off the ground!
Nick Saban's machine, where 5-star recruits got benched and high school legends were made to be broken. Most incoming freshmen would have been intimidated by the pressure, but Jalen had been built for this his entire life.
Well, I just think, the goal is just to come out and improve every day. You improve every day, you're taking a stride, a positive step.
Growing up in his father's program, he already learned how to handle high expectations and intense coaching. He quickly proved himself to be the team's best option, becoming the first true freshman quarterback to start for Alabama since 1984. His work ethic and unshakable composure won over a coaching staff that had seen every type of player imaginable. His impact was immediate and historic.
Lead 13, Hurts shows the arm, throws it into the end zone.
He led the Crimson Tide to an undefeated regular season, a conference championship, and an appearance in the College Football Playoff National Championship, earning SEC Offensive Player of the Year honors. The foundation his family had built for him was rock solid until the cracks started to show. Going into his sophomore season, all eyes were on him to see if he was truly a great quarterback or a one-year wonder fluke. Jalen responded to the critics with a 11-1 regular season, throwing for a measly 1940 yards passing and scoring 23 total touchdowns.
Hurts fires.
It was clear he wasn't developed as a passer, but he could get the job done as a starting quarterback. But here's the thing, being an athletic quarterback can win you games in college, it won't win you championships when you're relied on in pressure situations to deliver on precise throws.
And just flips it downfield.
On the sport's biggest stage, his limitations were brutally exposed. In the first half, Jalen struggled like he had never had before, completing just 3 of 8 passes for 21 yards as Alabama quickly fell behind 13-0. Every throw felt heavy. Every read felt slow. The game was slipping away.
Hurts looking that way. Kirk throws it for the end zone.
Halftime, Nick Saban pulled him aside and told him he was done. A player with a 26-2 record, benched in the national championship on live television. Jalen had to walk to the bench knowing 30 million people just watched him lose his job. From the sideline, he watched backup Tua Tagovailoa do everything he couldn't. Tua would lead a comeback to win Alabama the national championship and became an Alabama legend.
Trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown!
The same choice that had made him dominant in high school, prioritizing athleticism over quarterbacking, had just cost him on the biggest stage in college football. For any 19-year-old, this would have been devastating. The embarrassment, the questions, the doubt, a public humiliation that could trigger an immediate transfer request, public complaints, or a complete collapse in confidence. But Jalen's response showed who he really was. Instead of transferring or complaining, he made a choice that stunned everyone. He stayed for his junior season. He supported Tua. He prepared like a starter while knowing he was the backup. The same family foundation that had taught him to love the process over results now carried him through his darkest moment. That year of watching from the sideline became his crash course in what he neglected: pure passing. He had a full season to study defenses from the sideline, watching how Tagovailoa made decisions and learning the passing game from a mental perspective. This was Jalen fixing his earlier mistake. Instead of relying on his athleticism, he was finally learning how to think the game like an elite quarterback. But as the 2018 season went on, it seemed hopeless.
For Tua Tagovailoa, first down and touchdown.
Tua was having incredible success. Alabama was rolling, and Jalen was watching any sort of NFL dreams fade away from the bench. Alabama made it all the way to the SEC championship game with Jalen still relegated to backup duty. And then, bam!
Oh, it looks like it's right.
Tua went down with an injury against the same Georgia team that had witnessed Jalen's downfall a year before. This was his last shot. When Jalen stepped back on the field, something was different. No panic, no pressing, just pure execution. He led Alabama to a dramatic game-winning comeback, proving that his year of learning had transformed him into something new.
Jalen Hurts, touchdown!
The athlete was still there, but now there was a quarterback's mind to go with it. After everything that happened in Alabama, Jalen now had a choice to make. He could stay comfortable as Tua's backup, collect his Alabama degree, and hope some NFL team took a chance on him. Or he could bet everything on one final season to prove the doubters wrong. Despite all his success at Alabama, the narrative that followed him was brutal. He wasn't a real quarterback. He was just an athlete playing the position. The criticism wasn't entirely wrong though. Those years of prioritizing the weight room had come with the cost. While he was squatting 570 pounds, other quarterbacks were at skill camps mastering footwork, learning progressions, and developing pocket presence. He had made a choice in high school to prioritize strength over pure quarterbacking skills. That choice had made him dominant as a dual threat, but it had also put him years behind as a pure passer. The benching at Alabama had exposed this gap brutally, and now with 1 year of eligibility left, he was running out of time to close it. The media labeled him as a one-read quarterback whose success came from Alabama's system and his own legs. The criticism cut deep, but it also lit a fire. He specifically chose Oklahoma and head coach Lincoln Riley, whose air raid offense was famous for one thing: turning quarterbacks into elite passers.
Has room, now throws it. Touchdown, Sherman.
This wasn't just about proving doubters wrong. This was about catching up on years of development he missed while prioritizing the weight room. This was the ultimate bet on himself. If he couldn't prove he could throw at Oklahoma, his NFL dreams were over. What happened next didn't just silence every critic. It proved that Jalen Hurts possessed something special: the ability to compress years of development into just months. In Riley's offense, Jalen didn't just improve as a passer, he became a completely different quarterback at a speed that defied logic.
With time, lost one in the air, over the shoulder.
3,851 passing yards and 32 touchdowns through the air. 1,298 rushing yards and 20 more touchdowns on the ground. He led the entire nation in yards per pass attempt at 11.3. His 2019 performance had the 5th best completion percentage over expected among all Power 5 quarterbacks since 2011. Put simply, Jalen was attempting harder throws and completing them more than everyone else.
That is a great throw by Jalen Hurts, bringing Stockner.
In one season, he had mastered what it should have taken years of development. Deep balls that defied physics. Tight window throws that had no business being completed. The same quarterback who got benched for not being able to throw was now making 2019 Joe Burrow work for the Heisman Trophy. This was everything coming together. The mental toughness his parents had built into him from childhood, combined with refined mechanics in an offense that demanded precision. The gap that had taken him years to create was being closed in real time. He finished second in Heisman voting, but most importantly, he had answered every question about his arm. The kid who was labeled a running back playing quarterback had just put together one of the most dominant passing seasons in college football history. And while other quarterbacks spent their careers in one system, Jalen proved he could master completely different styles of play. But the NFL didn't see it that way. In the eyes of many scouts, Jalen was just a product of the system, not a true game changer who could elevate a franchise. It's easy to put up video game numbers when playing in a system that's designed for passing, they said. With that, he was projected as a late first-round pick. When the 2020 NFL draft started, Jalen waited nervously for that phone call, except it never rang. Hurts wasn't selected in the first round, and all of a sudden, self-doubt started to creep in. He couldn't sleep the entire night, despite rounds 2 and 3 being tomorrow. But finally, he got a phone call. When the Philadelphia Eagles selected Jalen Hurts with the 53rd pick in the 2020 NFL draft, Eagles fans absolutely lost their minds.
What the fuck? Jalen Hurts?
Despite his Oklahoma success, most analysts still saw him as a project player who would need years to develop into a competent NFL passer. The team already had Carson Wentz, their franchise quarterback who had nearly won MVP just a few years earlier.
Takes the snap, he's back, he's looking, he fires, complete, touchdown!
So why the hell were they drafting another quarterback? Hurts should switch positions. His accuracy isn't good enough. His ceiling as a passer at the NFL level was way too low. Most predicted he would be a gadget player, someone who runs the ball once a drive to try and confuse defenses. As his rookie season began, Hurts was having flashbacks to his time in Alabama as he rode the bench. Occasionally, he would get into the game to run, but that was about it.
To Baltimore, Jalen Hurts is in there and trying to create something, and he does. By far.
But when Wentz started struggling late into his rookie season, Hurts got his shot in Week 13 against the Packers, and something clicked. It was everything Oklahoma had taught him about reading defenses combined with the poise he built at Alabama. For the first time, he looked like a complete quarterback at the NFL level. By his second season, he was the full-time starter, leading all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. But as his success grew, so did the media narrative that kept following him like a shadow. He's just a runner who can't throw. The criticism became a constant buzz, especially after he lost his first playoff game to the Bucs with 2 interceptions and a fumble.
Hurts, end zone, picked off.
That loss could have broken him. Instead, it reminded him of every other time he'd been counted out. From the weight room warrior who wasn't supposed to be a real quarterback, to the bench Alabama star who wasn't supposed to recover. Each setback had only made him more determined.
We'll be back, and this is a feeling that will kind of simmer in our hearts. Definitely coming back hungry.
The next season, Jalen went nuclear. 14-1 record as the starter, second in MVP voting, a dominant run to Super Bowl 57. And yet, even as he was putting up historic numbers, the critics kept talking. They couldn't deny his success, so they moved the goalposts. He was a system quarterback. He can't win the big one. He is not in Mahomes' class. Against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Jalen played the game of his life. 374 total yards, 4 touchdowns, and a historic performance. But they lost 38-35, and Mahomes got the ring. That loss changed everything inside Jalen. He said it himself.
You either win or you learn.
It was the same feeling he had sitting on that Alabama bench watching Tua win the championship, that burning need to prove he belonged on the biggest stage. During the Super Bowl run, Eagles fans fell in love with one play, the tush push. Exactly what it sounds like. The entire offensive line gets behind Jalen and pushes him into the end zone.
Brotherly shove again. Hurts is in.
But the Eagles abused the hell out of this play, and the critics use it as ammunition. See, he's not a real quarterback, he's just a battering ram. The irony was perfect. The same strength he built in that high school weight room was now being used against him. It became borderline unstoppable because of how freakishly strong he still was. Through all the noise, one thing was clear. Everything Jalen had built was now coming together. The power from his high school weight room, the mental toughness from Alabama, the passing precision from Oklahoma. Using all three, he had become the most lethal short yardage weapon in the NFL.
Up the middle, Hurts. Stretching out, Hurts, touchdown!
The numbers don't lie. 15 rushing touchdowns in a single season, breaking Cam Newton's quarterback record. Over the past 3 seasons, he scored 42 rushing touchdowns, more than any player in the entire league, including running backs. When the game was on the line and every yard mattered, Jalen was locked in.
Has speed, has a touchdown.
In 2023, he kept breaking records. First quarterback ever with 3 straight seasons of 10-plus rushing touchdowns. The Eagles' franchise records for total yards and total touchdowns. A $255 million contract that briefly made him the highest-paid player in NFL history. But with success came even more media scrutiny. Every press conference, every interview, every social media post was dissected. Jalen handled it the way his parents had taught him, by staying focused on the process and tuning out the noise. But once again, the playoffs ended in disappointment. The critics returned with their familiar refrain. He's just a product of his supporting cast. It was Alabama all over again.
If we look at the Eagles, is it Hurts or the team? I think it's a little bit of both, man. I think it's
No matter what he accomplished individually, there would always be someone ready to diminish his role in the team's success. So in 2024, Jalen did what he always does when people doubt him. He used it as fuel. Super Bowl 59. Eagles versus Chiefs. The rematch everyone wanted. This time, there was no question who the better quarterback was.
Some clock, or maybe throw the dagger. Hurts going deep for it all. Devontae Smith.
The Eagles won 40-22. Jalen threw for 221 yards and 2 touchdowns and rushed for 72 yards and another score. Mahomes, on the other hand, threw 2 interceptions and fumbled. Jalen got his revenge. He finally had his ring and his Super Bowl MVP trophy.
Better than the highs and the lows. Couldn't be here without my teammates. You know, the effort, the determination everybody displayed to get to this point.
But even then, people wanted to give credit to Saquon Barkley and his supporting cast. The same criticism that followed him out Alabama, just a product of the talent around him. The criticism completely ignores what makes Jalen Hurts special. Jalen proves doubters wrong by subscribing to the process of relentless improvement, as well as gridiron. As a former data analyst for an FBS program, I've spent countless hours breaking down quarterback metrics. And what I'm about to show you is mathematical proof that Jalen Hurts is building something we've never seen before. 3 comparisons that prove Jalen Hurts is on track to surpass every elite quarterback in the NFL, including Patrick Mahomes. Number 1, Hurts is better than Cam Newton. Cam Newton was a revolutionary physical specimen who redefined what quarterbacks could be. But Jalen Hurts, he's the better version. Listen, I'm a Panthers fan. That's really tough to admit. The numbers don't lie though. Hurts is more efficient, more accurate, and especially mentally tougher. Let's compare their peak seasons. Newton's 2015 MVP year to Hurts' 2022 MVP runner-up season. Newton completed under 60% of his passes while Hurts hit nearly 67%. Cam managed 10 rushing touchdowns, but Hurts scored 13. Newton was the prototype, but Hurts is the finished product. 2. Hurts is better than Josh Allen. Josh Allen has all the talent in the world, a cannon arm, elite athleticism, and an MVP level upside, but he's also reckless as hell.
Let's go! Let's go! Come on!
From 2018 to 2023, Allen led the entire NFL with 102 turnovers. In 2022 alone, his risky throws cost the Bills an estimated 500 points.
Left is going to launch. Hardy downfield.
That's the difference between winning a Super Bowl and watching it from home. Jalen Hurts gives you the same explosive dual threat upside, but with better decision making. Since 2022, Hurts has committed just 1 turnover across 7 playoff games. 1. Allen's tendency to force plays in hero mode has repeatedly led to critical mistakes that have killed the Bills' championship hopes. Hurts, having been built in the fires of public failure, has developed a more mature and controlled approach. Buffalo fans dream about having a quarterback with Allen's arm, but Hurts' brain. Well, that quarterback already exists, but he plays in Philadelphia. 3. Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes. This is the big one. Suggesting anyone can surpass Patrick Mahomes sounds insane. 3 Super Bowl rings, 2 MVPs, the face of the NFL. But Jalen Hurts has already outplayed Mahomes when it mattered most. 2 Super Bowl meetings. 2 times Hurts put up better numbers. Hurts was arguably the best player on the field, posting one of the highest PFF grades ever for a quarterback in a Super Bowl. He was clearly the better performer, as Mahomes had one of the worst games of his career.
Here's Mahomes, pressure right away. Mahomes is sacked.
But it goes even deeper than head-to-head matchups. Deep ball efficiency? Hurts ranked 4th in the NFL on throws over 20 yards, while Mahomes ranked 37. Broken plays? When holding the ball over 2.5 seconds, Mahomes' rating drops to 79, while Hurts' rises to 104. Clutch performance? When his team had less than a 50% chance to win, Hurts generated the highest EPA in the league. Put simply, Hurts gets better when the game is on the line. Mahomes is the master of improvisation, while Hurts is the master of optimization. And in the long run, the guy who systematically builds greatness will always beat the guy who relies on magic tricks. The scary truth about Jalen Hurts isn't his strength, his speed, or his arm. It's not even just that he's great, it's that he's still getting better. Every failure becomes data. Every public embarrassment becomes fuel. Every piece of criticism becomes information that he feeds into his process of relentless work. Most quarterbacks peak and plateau. Jalen Hurts just keeps climbing. He went from barely completing 6 out of 10 passes to nearly 7 out of 10. His passer rating jumped from the mid-80s to over 100. Even when he dipped in 2023, he bounced back stronger than ever. That was Jalen gathering even more data, processing what went wrong and coming back stronger in 2024. No other elite quarterback has completely rebuilt fundamental parts of his game while still competing at the highest level. Mahomes arrived as a product with really good genetics. Allen's flaws are still part of his game. But Jalen, weaknesses become strengths. Patrick Mahomes was born with a higher ceiling of natural talent, but Jalen Hurts is raising his own ceiling at a rate the league has never witnessed. And when somebody who's already this good is still climbing at this rate, that's not just scary for defensive coordinators, that's terrifying for anyone who thinks they've seen his ceiling. While others rely on their God-given gifts to stay great, Jalen uses his engineered mindset to compound his abilities, and that's why his development path is steeper. Speaking of systematic improvement, click here to see how another quarterback is about to prove all of the critics wrong.